up to another good morning. Time to go. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. We are all looking for adventure. We are all...
Welcome back to the 3x5 Live
podcast.
On this podcast, we talk about mindset, mindfulness, productivity, everything self-development. And we just returned from a little couples retreat. We went down to the Bahamas.
During hurricane season?
It rained most of the time. No, it was overcast and cloudy.
With 25-mile-per-hour winds, but no big deal.
We still had fun.
Didn't rain on our parade.
No, it didn't. It could have been much worse.
And we had a beautiful day in there too. So.
Yes, we got one beautiful day mixed with a rainstorm midday. But anyway, so the format of this trip is, so I think we talked about this 2 podcasts ago, but last year we went to Austin for kind of like a bigger couples retreat. There was probably 50 people at this event. Jessie spoke. We did goal planning. We did just kind of like couples masterminding, if you will. And this year we decided, hey, let's continue the tradition of doing something like that, but let's do our own thing. Mm-hmm. So 4 couples went down to the Bahamas, and we arrived on Thursday, went to dinner, kind of connected. Jessie and I knew 2 of the 3 couples, so we got to meet the 4th couple. And then Friday, we started our facilitation session. So we had it. So Friday morning, we did some, for
year
about
reflection.
Yeah, 3-4 hours of year reflection. What went well this year? Mm-hmm. What needs work within your marriage, within your family? People sharing out. And then in the afternoon, we just went and explored the island, and then had dinner as a group. And then Saturday morning, did love languages and did some vision boarding, followed by hanging out at the pool, and then dinner. So it was like a mix of a couple hours of this kind of masterminding time with fun. Mm-hmm. So we really wanted to have an emphasis on the fun, on the connecting, just being on vacation, mm-hmm. but having purposeful time as well, which kind of made it kind of like a cool yin and yang there.
And it's been great to end the year like this with this type of reflection time where it's just the 2 of you. I mean, it's really hard to find extended chunks of time where you can really unpack the things that have gone really well, look at areas of growth and need, and be able to just like riff about it with your partner. And then also the fun and the connection and all that stuff. So it's been really cool to end our year like this. And this year didn't disappoint either. Yeah.
So what we're going to go through 3 kind of takeaways from the event. So the vision boarding exercise was fantastic. We used Google has a thing.
Are you
called,
saying that because we facilitated that activity?
Obviously.
We facilitated the morning of day 2, which was kind of cool. That was the first time. I'm used to facilitating these types of conversations separately from Bri, and he also facilitates conversations separately. So it was nice to sit down and be able to lead together. It was actually really fun.
I think you did a little more leading than I did, but
I mean, obviously, no, I'm just kidding.
So we use this platform called Google Jamboard, which is really interesting. And it basically...
It's like a giant whiteboard.
It's a giant whiteboard where you can go on there and you can just search Google images right from the whiteboard and just drag, drop, move around. So we really wanted to do a 3-year vision. 3-year visions out as a family, as a couple. What do you want to accomplish? The type of family you want to be. Some almost... becoming words, mm-hmm. that were incorporated in there, not just like I want this nice car or this lake house. It was kind of like, where do we want to be as a family from a value standpoint? And I think what's neat to think about 3 years out is, where were you 3 years ago? And I think about the growth that we've had in the last 3 years, and I can't even, if I dreamed 3 years ago where we would be today, I don't think I could have dreamed big enough. Mm-hmm. So that really put things in perspective of, okay, let's futurecast 3 years out. Where could we be? I mean, the sky's the limit for what you can accomplish in this life.
Yeah. And I think naturally 3 years feels long. And so we definitely started smaller, right? We started with more of what we're going to be trying to bring to fruition in 2024. We've had a habit of picking a word for the year and really kind of using that word to guide us. Yours this year was light, and that not in like the sense of like bright light, but more of like letting go of some things and lessening the load and
lighten like diet areas, everything. Yeah.
Right. So we came up with the word this year, or I came up with the word, and I don't know where it came from, but I wanted the word rooted. Setting up roots. So it's no secret, if you've been following with us, that we have been on the go for the last 3.5 years, ever since COVID, with, the short-term rental properties, and we're traveling all the time. And I've been homeschooling, which makes it so that we're transient and we're kind of like nomadic, right? We can move wherever we are. We take our kids with us. But what that has done is kind of taken us away from a community, whether it's like our neighborhood community, being in the borough of Westchester, whether it's be like our church community, whether it be our friendships. It's kind of been like us against the world. And I'm feeling really much like this is my like homesteading, be home, get involved in the kids' school more. They're actually loving where they are. It's a beautiful little community, wanting to be home on the weekend so that we can have friends over and family over at our house. And we're really sinking into our home and making it feel like homey. And I just think for us, being present in where we are, like keeping our head and our hearts and our feet in the same place at the same time. And that being at home was kind of the highlight of what we came up with.
And to explain that from a vision board standpoint, I mean, Jessie found this awesome image where it was like a house with like roots coming out of the bottom. So we put that image right in the center of the vision board to really show that as like the central point of, what we want to project into the future. And what got this going a little bit in my mind is one of the couples there is basically completely redoing their downtown. Like they're so involved in the community that they're, buying up buildings downtown and putting in ice cream stores, putting in the
toy stores.
They opened a toy store,
restaurants, and wedding venue, like the whole thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an extreme example of like owning your community. But I think Jessie and I need to dip our toe more into that locally here. And that was just an example for us of how big you could go and how impactful you can make on your community. And
I think listening to, it's funny when you start to vision and vision board, how naturally things start to play out. And I know this sounds woo-woo, and we've talked about vision boarding before and the power of it, but even like the week before the Sunday before we left for this trip in church, they were interviewing community partners. So this is like one of the reasons why we love our church is because it's big on mission work and it's local mission work. So it was talking about like leading through what was called discipleship. And that word discipleship really got me kind of scratching my head and thinking about like, what does it mean to be a disciple? And I think it's using your gifts to serve the people around you and your community. And how can you do that? So that messaging was there right before we left. And, then we looked at the rooted and we're like, what kind of things can we bring into our community, and how can we use our gifts to do this? So there was like this organization called Young Life that deals with like teenagers. And I was like, that seems like something that speaks to me. We're talking about doing like 5Ks for charity or some charity work within our community. We're talking about volunteering our time and our gifts for the places that are like really in our small circle of community. So now that we're open to that, we keep seeing things that come through that we're like, oh, this is something we can do. And this is something we can hold on to. And let's pull this string. And so even just doing this exercise last week, I feel like we've already started to generate some dialogue about how we can embody this word and what this means for us in the next year.
Yeah. So that was obviously a pretty big conversation, a big chunk of time we spent on that. The other thing we did was we revisited the love languages. So the book, The 5 Love Languages, and Jessie and I did this, I think when we were getting married. And it was interesting now when you take the test, it really gives you a percentage. Before it just used to be like, and let's see if we can name them. It's quality time, gifts, acts of service,
words of affirmation,
and
physical touch.
Nailed it. Thank you. So it would just give you one, your top one is, acts of service, but now it give you percentages. So, like, okay, acts of service is, 29%, but, quality time is 25%. So it's pretty darn close. That's how the test shakes out now. So Jessie really posed the question to the group of how you received love as a child. Is that the same or different than how you receive love or want love now?
Yeah.
And it got some great conversations going and really scratching your head of like reflecting on our childhood and how you craved love then and how that has morphed as an adult.
Right. And so we were with a group of 8 and it was pretty mixed. It was either you received love in a way that was like so profound and special for you that you wanted to emulate and bring that into your own family and love and relationship, or it was the opposite. Like you were missing something that you craved so thoroughly. And then that now becomes what you are, that thing that you were missing is now your love language and how you are showing love all of the time, or how you want to receive love all of the time. So it's worth, like, as you're listening to this, like thinking about, you know, your childhood self, right? And like, what was it? Like, how did your parents show you love? And did you feel like there was maybe something that you were missing or something that you were craving? And then see how that translates to being an adult, because those types of conversations are really important. And knowing what your partner, how your partner wants to receive love, you usually show love the way that you want to receive it.
Yes.
But that might be completely out of alignment with the way that your partner wants to receive love. So these conversations are really important.
Yeah, exactly. And an example there is one of the couples, one of the women was like, you know, my parents are kind of absentee. So, you know, now I crave quality time because I didn't have it as a child. So that's what she was expressing. So that's kind of an example of, you know, now she's just like very, very protective of our family's quality time.
I also thought it was interesting. So mine has always been quality time since we got married. But Bryan, when he took the quiz this time, and I've taken this quiz several times in the interim because I use this in my grad classes as a tool, but Bryan has not. But this time when he took it, his quality time was actually his top love language, which never was the one before. It was
always acts of service. Yeah.
And I wonder if like you're in relationship and he knows that quality time is so important to me. And so he's been working on trying to show that to me, that he also kind of like morphed into recognizing that was important to him. So it makes it a lot easier when your partner has the same top love language, but that wasn't always the case for us. So it's just interesting to think, how did we get there? And what was the reasoning behind that?
So the point there is, if you've done this exercise and it was years ago, do it again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool to do this every year.
Oh, yeah.
Because it definitely changes and shifts as you evolve as a human, for sure.
Yeah. And the last quick takeaway is... is the power of tradition and family.
Oh, yeah.
So one of
the rooted. This goes with rooted.
Yes. One of the couples there, they're our age, but they had children very young. They have 4 kids. So their oldest, I think, is 22 and their youngest is 14. And their kids want to come home and they want to be part of the family. And one of the things that's so important is tradition. Not just like, hey, we're going to Disney once a year, or we're going to the lake house we go to every year in this big tradition, but like the little traditions at home that you have, that you've created, that makes memories. And one of them that we're actually going to incorporate, as strange as this may sound, is moving forward, we're going to do the Day of the Dead and celebrate that here to really pay homage to our ancestors and have the pictures up of, you know, our grandparents and great grandparents and bring both sides of the family together and have this traditional party at our house where we honor those that came before us. But it also is creating tradition that our kids are going to remember and want to come home to. We got to make sure that we're home in November for that Day of the Dead party with our parents, you know, and creating those memories that then, you know, keep the glue between, you know, you and your kids. Yeah,
that was something that we put on there. What are these traditions that we're not doing already? Because a lot of them stem around holidays. But we were looking at Halloween recently, which is my least favorite holiday of all. And I was like, I really love the idea of the Day of the Dead, which is November 2nd. So the kids were excited. They've seen the movie Coco, which is something that kind of helped inspire it. But you know, we're big on legacy, and I want more than anything for our parents to be able to tell the stories of their childhood and their memories of their parents and their grandparents, because it's through those stories. That's the only way that you can learn about your ancestors. It's really through like word of mouth. And if you don't create a platform or an opportunity for those stories to be shared, I really don't think that it happens organically. So our goal is to put our parents in the hot seat and make them talk about their grandparents so that our kids can then learn those stories and then pass it on, like almost like a folklore type experience. Exactly. And I think it will impact our parents too, because then our parents are like, all right, if this tradition continues, how am I going to be remembered? And what are the stories that are going to be told about me? And one day, you know, my picture will be up there and people are going to just take this little time to have these discussions. Yeah. So, which is neat. Long story long, this one went a little bit longer, but it was a weekend filled with fun and reflection and activities. But overall, just giving yourselves opportunities with your partner or your loved ones to just create and carve out a quality time, since we're doing love languages, in an atmosphere where you can really get clear on where you want to go. If you don't have a vision of, it doesn't have to be a jam board or a vision board, but if you don't have a dialogue about what you want to accomplish in a year, the year goes by so fast and it comes to the end and you're like, wow, okay. So having a path or like a visual of what that end game is for you in 2024 and beyond, it is a secret power tool that I don't think a lot of people tap into. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed in the outcomes if you do.
Yeah. Well said. All right. Until next week, guys.
Take care.
We are all